Welcome back, everyone. In the next few videos, we are going to learn about functional components and how to write our application using functional components in place of class components. I want to mention that functional components utilize hooks in order to replicate a very similar behavior as we see with class components. The key thing is that they differ in how React utilizes them in order to re-render. The behavior in the application is the exact same, and the way you write these components is largely the exact same. You just have to change your understanding of how these components operate. And I know right now it seems a little vague, but don't worry too much about the implementation yet. We're going to spend a lot of time with that. I really want you to understand the high-level concept here, because this will really help you understand why React has functional components as well as class components. React is a library that has been around for a long time. It's important to note that because of this, React is constantly changing. In this change, it's constantly trying to support multiple businesses that utilize it in order to build their web applications. This means that these businesses also have a very diverse pool of developers. Some are comfortable writing classes, some are comfortable with functional programming, which is writing in the majority of your code as functions. And as a result, React largely does cater to both different developer pools. Similarly, throughout React's development history, it has tried to keep up with the trend of larger developer practices versus lesser developer practices, and it's constantly trying to balance these things. As far as you need to be concerned, it's important for you to know class and functional components, because different companies will write React differently. Some will write them in functional components with hooks, some will write them in class components, most will write them in a mix. There may be a larger push towards functional components as you join newer startups, but that does not mean that larger enterprises do not run class components. So it's very important that you know both so that you're able to effectively write React regardless of the team you join. In a similar fashion, class components is a very important starting point for learning React because React was founded on the concept of class components. It was probably the first way that you could write components in the very beginning. So the majority of how React determined the base point of how it thought about rendering inside of a web application was based on classes. And as a result, by understanding how React decides when to render and re-render, we're able to just have a better foundation of understanding that concept. So that when we move over to functional components, we already understand how rendering, re-rendering operates. Then it's just a matter of changing the model to a different form of component. And we're definitely going to dive deep into all of that. So don't even worry. You're going to become a whiz in no time. I do want to note that in the upcoming videos, we will start diving deeper into functional components. But in your capstone project, which will be the project that we work on after we finish this section, I will start flip-flopping between functional components and class components. The reason for that is because it requires us, in my opinion, to have a good foundation of both to really understand functional components. Functional components is easier learned in some ways once you have a foundation of class components, but it is important to note that they are two different styles of writing components. It seems really vague right now, but again, you will understand why. I just want you to prepare yourself to see that we will be using both class and functional components, and throughout this course, I will be answering when you should use one over the other. But generally speaking, most of the time, you can use either or. It's really just up to the team that you join and what the general coding patterns are within that team. Sometimes it'll be functional, sometimes it'll be class, sometimes they might not care. It really depends from organization to organization. Therefore, for you to be the most effective React developer you can be, you should learn both and understand both. So with that noted, let's move on to functional components.